Still have people joining.
An extra 5 more minutes because some people are still joining.
Yeah, I think we still have, what are we at? We are at quorum, I believe. So we can join, we can start now, or we can just wait maybe 2 more minutes. Start exactly 35. All right, I think we're going to start now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first council meeting of the term. If you didn't already know from the emails, I'm the new chair for the 2020-2021 term. Now, before I call the meeting to order, I'd like to remind you guys of a couple things, especially for our new councilors. First of all, if you want to move or second a motion, please unmute your mic and state where the department or group you're representing moves or seconds, something like science moves or biology seconds. Additionally, if you would like to speak, please add yourself to the speakers list in the chat and I'll call on you. That's all. I'm calling this meeting to order at 4:35 p.m. Before we begin, I'd like to do a territorial acknowledgement. I would like to respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we are currently situated on occupied territory. We're now going to move on to roll call. When I call on you, please state your name, your pronouns, and your access needs. Access needs being anything we can do to make this meeting more comfortable for you. Starting with our student union representatives. Bachelor of Environment. Environment, are you here? Behavioral neuroscience. That's fine. All right, perfect. Biology.
Hi, so my name's Nick. My pronouns are he, him, and all my accessibility needs have been met.
Great. Business. Is the representative for business here? No. Chemistry. No business rep. Oh, oops. Yeah, so we're on to chemistry now. Is chemistry here? No? BNSS, this is later on. Um, Cognitive science.
Yep, Roland Poe from Cognitive Science. He, him, his needs are currently met.
Great. Computer science.
Ryan from Computing Science. He, him, his. All my needs are met.
Great. Criminology. Is the representative from criminology present? No. Economics. Is the representative from economics here? Education.
Yep, she, her, and all my accessibility needs are met.
Great. Engineering.
Alvin, he, him, all my access needs are met.
Great. English. All right. Environmental science.
Hi, my name's Caitlin. She, her, all of my accessibility needs are met. So
Great. French. Right. GSW. Is the gender, sexuality, and women's studies representative here? No. Geography.
Hi, I'm Evie, and she, her, and all of my needs are met.
Okay. Global Asia Studies, Student Union. Is the Global Asian Studies representative here? Not present. Is the history representative here?
Hello, Alan, he/him, and my access needs are met.
Great. Humanities.
Hi, my name's Sarah. Pronouns are she and her, and all my needs are met.
Perfect. Interactive arts and technology.
Hi, my name's Brian Toe. He, him pronouns, all my accessibility needs have been met.
Great. International studies.
Hello, my name is Aaliyah. My pronouns are she and her, and all my access needs have been met.
Great. Labor studies. All right. Linguistics.
Hi, I'm Allie, she, her, and all my access needs are met.
Perfect. Math. Is the math representative present? No. Mechatronics.
Hi, my name is Kimia, she, her. My needs are met.
All right. MBB.
Hi, my name is Phil. He, him, all my needs are met.
Great. Operations research. Is the representative from operations research present? Philosophy. Is the representative of philosophy present? Physics. Is the physics representative present? Political science.
Hi, everyone. My name is Helen. I am also your vice chair for the 2020-2021 term. My pronouns are she and her, and all my access needs have been met.
Thank you, Helen. Psychology. Is the psychology representative present? Oh, that's me. Science. Society of Arts and Social Sciences. All right. Sociology and anthropology.
Hi, I'm Kayla. Pronoun she, her, and all my access needs are met.
All right. Thank you. Software systems.
Hi, my name is Quince. Male pronouns, all my access needs are met.
All right. Statistics and actuarial sciences. All right. World literature.
Hi, my name is Kishtoj. Pronouns are she and her, and all my access needs have been met.
All right. Have I missed anyone from the student union representatives? All right, we'll now move on to our constituency group representatives. Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance.
Hi, my name is Serena. My pronouns are she, hers, and all my accessibility needs are met.
All right. Out on campus.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victor. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my accessibility needs are met.
Perfect. Residence Hall Association. Is the RHA rep here? No. Student Athletic Advisory Committee.
Hello there. My name's Ryan. Pronouns are he, him, and my access needs are met.
Perfect. Women's Center. Is the Women's Center Collective representative present? SOCA. Is the representative of the students of Caribbean and African ancestry present? No. We'll now move on to our board of directors. I believe the president. Yeah, president.
Hi, everyone. My name is Asab. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and all my access needs have been met as of right now.
Perfect. VP External. I believe he has a midterm right now, so he's not president. VP Finance.
Hi, everyone. My name is Corbett. Pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
VP Student Services.
Hi, my name is Matthew Provost. My pronouns are he, him, his. And if I turn off my camera, I'm probably stretching because I've been sitting in this chair all day. So thank you.
All right, thank you. VP Student Life.
Hey everyone, I'm Jennifer, she, her pronouns, and I might have to turn off my camera because this is really laggy for me right now.
Okay. VP University Relations.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabe. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are met.
Perfect. Are any of our at-large representatives present? Don't believe so. It's fine. Are any of our faculty representatives present? That's also fine. We'll now move on to our society staff. Sorry, campaign research and policy coordinator present. I don't believe she is. Is the executive assistant present?
Hi everyone, I'm Shanika. My pronouns are she or hers, and all my access needs are met.
Perfect. And our administrative assistant?
Hi everyone, I'm Christine and she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
All right, perfect. Have I missed anyone? I don't believe so. We're now going to move on to item 4.1. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Does anyone move this motion? If you'd like to move this motion, please unmute. All right, thank you. PSSU moves. Does anyone second?
SAC will second.
Perfect. We're now on to discussion.
I'd like to move to amend the agenda and add the following motion, which I'm included in the chat. I can read it out if necessary.
Yeah, I would like you to read that out.
Okay. The motion I'd like to include is whereas the SFU athletics teams have the current name of SFU Clan, which may negatively impact Black athletes that play for SFU through the invocation and similarities with the name of the Ku Klux Klan, a white supremacist terrorist organization in North America. Whereas SFU athletes were surveyed and 77% of athlete respondents surveyed were in support of SFU initiating a process to change the name. Whereas the SAC is a constituency group on council representing student athletes and supports the call of the petition. Whereas Maria Haddad and former student athlete Neil Spence have created and circulated a petition titled "The Clan Simon Fraser Needs a New Name," calling on the university to change SFU's team name. Be it resolved that council supports the calls made by student athletes to rename the SFU athletics team names from SFU Clan and endorse the petition on change.org, "The Clan Simon Fraser Needs a New Name." Be it further resolved that the council chair be directed to write a letter on behalf of council to Andrew Petter, Dr. Joy Johnson, and Rumana Khan Hammond, in collaboration with the SAC council representative and other councillors in support of this motion, and that the chair align the letter with the email template from the petition and wholly support the calls by athletes to rename the name of the team to a more appropriate name. Be it further resolved that as the advisory body to the board of the society, the council calls on the SFSS Board of Directors to add the call for the athletics team name change to their university-based advocacy efforts on behalf of the society and prioritize advocating for a resolution of the current issue prior to the beginning of the fall term.
All right. Does anyone second this motion?
Software Systems seconds this motion.
All right, Software Systems. Any discussion? Seeing none, we are now going to vote on this amendment. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your mic. Seeing no objections, this amendment carries. All right. I would like to move to amend the agenda to include the discussion item, Fall UPass. Does anyone second?
Software Systems seconds.
Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, we're now going to vote on this amendment. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone. Seeing no objections, this amendment carries. Now back to the main motion. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're going to vote.
I saw a message from the board saying they wanted 2 extra discussion items.
Sorry, let me just check the chat.
This was an email a few days ago.
This was from the board for the council meeting or for?
This was for a board meeting. Never mind. I apologize.
All right. Now, where were we? All right, now back to the main motion. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we are now going to vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone. Otherwise, please remain muted. Seeing no objections, this motion carries as amended. We're now on to item 5.1. Be it resolved to receive and file the following minutes. Council, May 27th, 2020. Does anyone move this motion?
Software Systems moves this motion.
Software Systems. Does anyone second?
Seconds. Sorry.
PSSU seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we are now moving to vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone and remain unmuted. Seeing no objections, this motion carries. Next up is item 6.1, report from the board liaison, the VP Student Life. The board liaison will deliver a report to the council on what has occurred at board meetings since the last council session, followed by a 5-minute question period. Jennifer, you have the floor.
Hey, so I linked the documents earlier, but for new people who have just entered and can't see the chat history, I will relink it again. So this link goes to the May 29th board meeting. basically, we had some motions. The first year engagement committee was established, and we'll be discussing the committee a bit later on in this meeting. The IEC report was approved. Basically, this report had like some recommendations about SFSS elections, and I linked the report on the document here. You can see it on the SFSS website. Another motion that was passed was that there was a motion to contribute $11,000, 645. Okay, I'm really bad with numbers. Sorry, you can see the number there. So we contributed that amount to the Living Personal Truths Fund. Basically, the endowment fund has a total of $20,000 in 2020, and the goal of the award is to promote greater understanding of sexual orientation and gender diversity issues within the SFU larger community. And then the next motion was about the town hall, which is happening next Tuesday. There's a Facebook event. If you search up town hall, SFSS or something, it'll be July 7th at 4:30 p.m. You can find more details on the document that I linked, including how we're collaborating with the SFU C19 Coalition. There's a link to their website in this document. And then we went in camera to discuss the student union building commercial leases. And then after we went ex camera, we discussed a clubs or member resource working group, which is supposed to help both students and SFSS staff. I think a motion to establish this is for the next board meeting. So another discussion item was the COVID-19 survey report. I've linked to the report on this document. It goes to the SFSS website. So student senators will continue pushing and advocating for students, especially now during exam season. A lot of professors are like, hey, we need you to use a webcam, even though it's too late for students to withdraw, and professors didn't say that they needed a webcam within the first week. The last part is that the Black, Indigenous, and People of Color Committee was proposed, and we discussed how lived experiences would be prioritized in this committee, and then how Black, Indigenous, and People of Color would be consulted and included. Okay, and then I'm going to move on to the June 12th meeting. I will send a link to this in the Hangouts chat as well. Okay, so that second link is for the board meeting on June 12th. Basically, there was a report from the executive committee. We reviewed job descriptions, employment contracts, and administrative structures of the different student societies. Right now, we have 7 management positions for 22 employees, and a lot of other student unions have 3 management positions for 22 employees. Currently, we had the Carver model, which is that there's one key person for the board to go to for questions, and board members can seek out this person's experience and advice. But what's not working with the Carver model is that board members are more disconnected, and there's changes being made without board members knowing. And an example would be last year, there was something about bubble tea fundraisers not being allowed anymore, and a lot of board members didn't know about that until an email was sent out to all the student groups. So in this document, I outlined a bunch of different governance models. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the details are there. I try to make it so that it's really easy to understand. I'll go over the one that was recommended by the governance committee, which is the governance board / executive management hybrid governance model. It's basically, there's more transparency because the board would get operational decisions reports from the executive, and there's more of a learning curve, but like after that, it's pretty good because it says that many board members express their support for this model. So all of that is on the link that I sent in the chat. After we discussed the governance models, we went over the report from the governance committee, and then we talked about governance restructuring and administrative review and how they affect each other. It was a really long meeting, like 4 hours. And then, so drafts for personnel and operational policies were reviewed. They will be reviewed constantly in the future, and the committee will consult with the board and the council. So we had a bunch of motions for the June 12th meeting as well. There was an administrative restructuring motion. So basically that means that the administrative restructuring model will be implemented in line with the report from the executive committee. And there was a motion for governance restructuring, which is like repealing current policies and adopting new ones. And we appointed one more board member onto the governance committee, our science representative, Wei Chen. We also donated $3,000 to the Black in BC Community Emergency Support Fund. And we endorsed the Just Recovery for All. If you Google like Just Recovery for All, there's a website that outlines like things that we should do, like put people's health and well-being first and like strengthen the social safety net. So we basically just endorsed their principles. We also oppose the TMX pipeline. So we'll work with student climate justice advocacy groups to deliver a letter to student unions across Canada and the US to sign on in support to tell the Canadian government to stop the TMX project. So we also were committed to fighting, fighting anti-Black racism and maintaining Black community space on campus. So we authorized staff to investigate hiring a Black student support staff. Another motion was that we supported the FNSA, which is the First Nations Student Association, and SFU terms of reference for their emergency assistance fund. And then we talked about the Open Education Resources letter campaign. So faculty representatives, I believe they've already sent a letter to respective faculty deans to support these open education resources. I think a few representatives have already gotten some pretty positive emails back. And it's really important now that everything is online. So open education resources are more important than ever. And then lastly, we passed a motion to make a one-time Slido plan purchase for the student town hall that I was talking about earlier. Basically, this would just make it easier for students to submit their questions for the town hall event on July 7th. So discussion items. We had a statement supporting Black Lives Matter. We also supported the Research is Work campaign. We also talked about planning our annual general meeting, which is usually in September or October. We discussed the town hall some more, and it says on the document tentative date is June 29th, but the confirmed date is July 7th, next Tuesday. And then because this meeting was like 4 hours long, we tabled some items for the next meeting. So we'll be discussing health and counseling services collaboration and emergency response food hub this Friday, I believe. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Do we have any questions? Anyone? Any questions? All right, thank you again, Jennifer. We will now move on to the next item. We will now have introductions from the board's executive directors. You each have 5 minutes to introduce yourselves and your portfolios, starting with the president.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me and allowing me to come and sit in on your meeting. As I introduced myself earlier, my name is Asa Mohammed, and I am the president of the Simon Fraser Student Society for this 2020-2020 and 2020-2021 term. I can kind of give an overview of what my position entails, and then I can kind of get into the different things that I've been working on. So essentially, as a president, I am the chair of the board and also the executive committee. I act as the official spokesperson for the society as well. And part of my job includes meeting with university reps and university administrations, such as different VPs, including the president of SFU, and also with different government officials, such as MLAs and MPs in our area. I also act as a staff liaison officer, and I am going to hopefully be soon appointed to be the chair of the HR and Personnel Committee. And that essentially is like a labor committee where we ensure that, you know, our actions are in line with a collective agreement that we have with our union, CUPE. And I am also a member of all committees and technically a member of council as well. I also have the authority to call a board meeting or a council meeting. However, I will, of course, leave that to the council chair. And I am also essentially the person there to act as a support to different board members. So I support the different executive officers in their different portfolios. So that includes university relations, external relations, finance, student life, and student services. And then I do support the other board members such as at-large representatives and faculty representatives in their own projects and their own initiatives as well. So some of the things specifically that I've been working on in the last few weeks include the COVID-19 survey. So that I actually started at the end of my last board term back in April when I was a Faculty of Health Sciences rep. And we were able to get a really good response, almost 10% of the student of the undergraduate students. That's a lot more than we get in elections. That's a lot more than we get in our other surveys. So that really says to me that the COVID crisis has unfortunately put a lot of undue stress on students, and they do want to be heard. So I've been working with our VP University Relations, Gabe, to actually set up a campaign, something where we can like put out graphics and more information about our findings for the survey and use that to kind of guide our advocacy, but also make sure that students know that they aren't alone in the struggles and that we are doing whatever we can, and we are looking to students to give us direction in terms of advocacy efforts. So we're hoping to have some graphics and some really cool information out to students on a pretty regular basis. And then hopefully students will engage with that and we'll be able to have a greater conversation about what we want things to look like for the fall semester. And fingers crossed, not the spring semester, but if that does continue to be online, that means there's going to be more academic issues that we do need to address. And not only academic, relating to students' safety, housing, food, mental health, and all different aspects that have been impacted during the COVID crisis. Another big thing that's coming up that I actually was working on my last board term as well is the hiring of a student advocate. This kind of ties into a two-piece thing that I've been working on. So the student advocacy position would essentially be someone who, so I know a lot of students right now get referred to the ombudsperson when they do have issues with, instructors, when they have issues with their grades or all sorts of things. However, with the ombudsperson, 2 minutes, oh God. Okay, so with the ombudsperson, they are essentially an employee of the university, and they are there to help interpret policy. The student advocate essentially would be someone hired by the SFSS, funded fully through the SFSS, and they would be essentially there just to help you out. That kind of ties into some issues we've been dealing with regarding exam invigilation. On May 7th, the Vice President Academic of SFU mandated that any instructor who wanted to use any kind of online proctoring software would have to let students know within the first week of class, and it would have to be in the syllabus. They recently reversed that decision and decided that now they're going to allow instructors to essentially spring this on students at any time under the guise that as long as they're not being recorded, then it's not a violation of their privacy or it's not illegal. That essentially has become the new normal, is just make sure it's not illegal and let it happen. We are seriously disappointed, and we're going to be following up with the university on this. Another thing that we've been working on that Jennifer already touched on were the governance and administrative restructuring. I won't touch on that one too much, but we are hoping to have that kind of rolling out over the next few weeks. And then I believe that this new administrative structure is going to be a very good change for the SFSS and kind of help to further our mandate of building student power and making sure that students are actually the ones calling the shots in a student society. Some of the projects that I want to work on in the coming months are renegotiating our agreement with Fraser International College. So right now they do pay fees to us, but they technically are not members of the SFSS, so we want to get that sorted. We also need to renegotiate our collective agreement with CUPE, the union that represents all of our unionized staff. We're hoping to be involved in welcome day activities and to the extent that we can, of course, with everything being online. And that should be it. That's everything on my list. So my email is president@sfss.ca. Please feel free to contact me, and I really do encourage all counselors to attend our board meetings whenever you can. A lot of the stuff happens there and a lot of the conversations happen there, and you can kind of get to know your board of directors better, and you'll be able to more effectively hold us accountable if we do something that you don't like. So thank you all for giving me some time, and please connect with me if you have any questions.
Thank you, Asab. Do we have the VP University?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Zaid. And thank you everyone for, again, having me here and to talk a little bit about some of the work that I've been doing over the last almost 2 months, I guess, now into my term. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Gabe. I'm the VP University Relations, and I'm also the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors. And as VP University Relations, my duties involved kind of acting as a liaison between students, the board, and the university, and bringing forward those, issues of significant concern to the university. And, at the beginning of the term, or the beginning of my term on the SFSS really presented a lot of challenges, because when I ran for the board, I didn't really have an idea of what lay ahead in terms of COVID-19 and the transition to online instruction. It very much was sprung on us right around the end of election period. And the board and myself have taken a huge pivot in order to make sure that we're supporting students, who are struggling the most in the face of this online transition. So, as Asa was mentioning, at the end of the spring semester, the SFSS conducted a survey and collected a lot of quantitative data on how online classes have impacted students. And this data spoke loud and clear that the decrease in the quality of education has significantly impacted students. And many students' mental health is declining as a direct result of how some instructors are running their courses. And some students don't have access to comfortable or non-distracting work environments, or have incurred lots of debt because they've had to move or purchase equipment to be able to effectively do their schoolwork. And alarmingly, a large number of students don't have access to reliable Wi-Fi. These are all big issues that we're looking toward in our advocacy efforts. And we're hearing these concerns loud and clear, and we're turning this data into a full-on campaign. And we continue to bring these concerns to the university. And when all else fails, we'll turn to our advocacy efforts and online campaigning and communicating with students to try and push for these concerns. And we'll bring these forward through all the necessary channels, such as the Joint Operations Group, the Senate, and other online advocacy. And some of the demands that we are asking of the university right now include reducing tuition to match the decrease in the quality of education, suspending late enrollment penalties, extending the General Emergency Assistance Program into the coming semesters, implementing asynchronous course delivery for courses in a way that's equitable for all students and all learning methods, prohibiting invigilating software, room scans, and other practices that violate students' privacy, and improving mental health supports. Additionally, through the University and Academic Affairs Committee, our at-large representative, Balkis Jama, is planning a SFSS town hall in collaboration with the Grad Society, the Grad Student Society, the TSSU, Tuition Freeze Now, and the COVID-19 Coalition. And as Jennifer mentioned, this is happening on June the 7th. And we really want to hear from students how remote teaching has impacted their well-being and the tools that you need to feel supported during this time. So I really encourage anyone here to come, and please tell your departmental or faculty student union execs to come to this event and invite your friends. Moreover, aside from COVID-19 advocacy, we continue to tackle other issues and take on more projects throughout the year, which include hosting more frequent town halls for increased transparency and accountability, continuing to work on a student affordability plan with the university, and a working group is actually in the works right now to get that going, which will include pushing for things such as open educational resources to save students money, hiring a student advocate, as also mentioned, and establishing a student advocacy office. I think that's really important right now as we're online. Students really need someone there that they know they can turn to and actually advocate on their behalf. We continue to work to fight anti-Black racism on campus. We continue to, find ways to work and support athletes in changing their team name. As Ryan brought up, and this will come up later in the meeting, bringing up the issue of exam invigilation. That's something I'm working on right now and really trying hard to push the university to reverse that decision to allow exam invigilation. And of course, other things like continuing the work on the Burnaby Mountain Gondola project. I'm not sure what my time is at, but outside of my portfolio, I'm also on the executive committee and I'm the chair of the governance committee. And as part of that, I was a huge part of the administrative restructuring and the governance restructuring. And focusing more on the governance restructuring, I played a huge role in repealing a lot of our current or old policies, I guess they are now, and implementing some new policies that are more up to date and align with the governance model that we chose to go with, which will allow for more decisions to be in the hands of the actual elected student representatives. And some more projects that the governance committee is going to take on this year are some serious review of our current policies, including our elections and referenda policies, our issues policies, and any other governing documents, of course, in consultation with students and with council. We're also initiating a bylaw review, and we're hoping to have a draft set of bylaws to present to our membership at our October AGM, our annual general meeting, to vote on and hopefully have those adopted. Lastly, as part of our new policies, we've established a number of new committees. These include the Black, Indigenous People of Color Committee, but there's also a new committee called the Farm Committee, or it's abbreviated for the Faculty and At-Large Representatives Committee. And that committee is there for our faculty representatives and our 2 at-large representatives to really work together to work on faculty and departmental level projects and kind of streamline that work there. And so all in all, you know, I'm very thrilled to be in this role, and there have been many roadblocks in the last 2 months as we, you know, take on this new role and navigate our way through all these different advocacy plans. But I'm always open and willing to speak to students, and hearing, you know, your struggles in the face of COVID-19 and any feedback and suggestions. And please know that I'm always available through, you know, almost any form of social media. You can hit me up on my Facebook DMs, my Instagram DMs, my emails. You can practically find me anywhere. So thank you for letting me give this report, and I'll pass it back to your chair.
Thank you, Gabe. I think we'll move on to a report from VP External.
Oh, that's right. I'm doing the VP External report too, because Samad unfortunately is at having a midterm right now, so you get to listen to me for another 5 minutes. So he did a little write-up, so I'll just read that now. So greetings, fellow council members. My name is Samad Raza, and I am the External Relations of the SFSS. As the External Relations VP, some of my duties involve external advocacy, lobbying, government, and liaising between the student society, student unions, and other schools as the formal delegate by the board. Before I further get into my role in advocacy plans for the year, I would like to apologize for not being present here today due to my midterm, and thank Mr. Leosis for reading out this on my behalf. Last Friday, I had the opportunity to present the following recommendations to the Select Standing Committee of Finance and Government Services of the provincial government on behalf of the SFSS. This included suggestions such as evaluating and revising the operational funding model for post-secondary institutions and increase post-secondary operating grants, reducing or eliminating MSP premiums for international post-secondary students, revising the tuition limit policy to limit international student tuition increases to 2% annually, the same as domestic, bringing it to the same line as domestic student tuition. The detailed submission is available for anyone who's interested, and a social media post on this presentation will follow soon, so follow us on our social media for that. Currently, the External and Community Affairs Committee is working on putting together all the advocacy initiatives, but here are some that we are considering. The first is a TMX/tank farm. I'm assuming it's anti-TMX tank farm advocacy project. Number 2, affordable education / eliminating interest on student loans. 3, international student tuition affordability. National housing strategy, refugee rights, single-use plastics, also includes all the recommendations we presented to the Select Standing Committee on Finance and Government Services to the provincial government. And again, we are open to any suggestions that members might have, and we'll be happy to receive them. Feel free to reach out to me through email, Facebook, or Instagram, and I would be happy to accommodate you as best as I am able to. Thank you, Samad Raza.
All right, thank you, Gabe, for delivering that report on someone's behalf. We have our VP Finance here to give us a report and speak on his initiatives.
Hi, everyone. So yes, for VP Finance, an easy way to sum up my role is I oversee the health of the society, the financial health of the society. So I see and approve a number of different purchases and payments for different contracts, our payroll, all that stuff. I also oversee and approve board spending, everything from reimbursements to spending on not committees, but spending on conferences, things like that. So for what I've been doing though, primarily, since I'm also a member of the executive committee and the governance committee, a good chunk of my time over the last month, well, actually last 2 months, has been working on the governance and administrative review and restructuring projects. And as has been mentioned in other reports, that the recommendations were approved on June 12th at the last board meeting. And the board then tasked the executive committee to implement those recommendations, and that's what me, along with President, have been working on. And so we've been having meetings with affected staff. We've had meetings with all our union staff to go over, answer any questions they have for this transition period, as well as meeting with the union to just get their feedback. Additional projects I've been working on. So I completed a board reimbursement guidelines, which has now been actually put into our policies. This is to allow, I noticed when I first came on the board that there was a lot of lack of understanding of what board members could get reimbursed for, how to do it, what the process is. So we had the finance manager compile all that and look through some of our history to see like when things were changed and when different types of reimbursement options were approved or disapproved or disapproved. And so I compiled all that so that everyone would have, for this board and future boards, would have kind of like one document to look at so we can be on the same page. I'm also currently working on revamping the board work reports. This has been, every year usually each board kind of makes small changes to it to accommodate what they think works and what doesn't work. The current reports models, which you can see online through the SFSS website under reports under the board tag. It's very condensed, but I found there were some formatting issues, like when you wanted to add new tables to add like another report or another meeting detail, it would sometimes mess up the page. So I've been working on making it simpler and easier to expand on. It's still very manually done. It's not like we have a nice bit of software that will generate reports for us. But so in the meantime, what I would like to do is I've mocked up a report and I want to send it to Accessibility Committee to get their advice on ways to make it more readable, more accessible for members with vision challenges and other factors. And also I want to send them to council to get their opinions on content. Is the reports citing is the information that we write down relevant? Is it useful? Is it informative? Are we missing things? Are we going too much detail on some of that stuff? I'd like to get your perspective, because when you go to the reports right now, it's multi-pages. It's 50-something pages long, because we're putting 16 different board members on talk about all the things they've been working on, which every 2 weeks it adds up quite a bit. And we've been a very active board for these first 2 months. This next board meeting, I submitted a motion to talk about student union charity donations. I know there's been a couple of student unions that have requested being able to use their core funding to donate to charity during these time periods, during this time period. And we'll have a discussion at the board table. And there's I've already had some discussion with staff, and there's a couple different ways we can go about doing it. I am still contacting some of the student unions about their interests and who they'd like to donate to and what they were thinking about. Because, for instance, I think I talked to psychology, and they were originally thinking about doing like a fundraiser, but they're wondering how the logistics of that. And so we can have a further discussion about how the SFSS could help support some of these initiatives. Additionally, I'm also reviving work on making a board drive and archive that the board can have a central repository for projects, for documents, for a lot of these things that would make their lives easier. Because currently every board member has their own individual Google Drive and an archive for their individual email accounts. which means that if 1 year, one project was worked on by an at-large and a faculty rep and then maybe an executive member, you might have 3 different bits of documentation and reports in 3 different drives. And so that's just really ineffective and inefficient to be able to get all that. And you have to chase down or track down reports and documentation from multiple different accounts. It's not a fun experience. I know there's been past work done on this. I believe the applied science representative for not last year, the previous year, worked on it. I found some some work on that, so I will be looking to expand on that, and I'll build and expand on that. So those, yeah.
Sorry, in the interest of time, I think we need to move on to the.
No problem.
Thank you so much. VP Student Services.
Is everyone able to hear me and see me? Just double checking. Okay, cool. Okay, Nadamiko, Matthew Provost. Hello, my name is Matthew Provost, VP Student Services for 2021 term this year. I'm gonna make this quick and short in the interest of time. So basically looking over like my position as VP Student Services, again, really thankful to be in this role. Right now working with our services, like for example, such as health and dental, UPass, and like food bank, and ensuring that these services are working for the best interests of our students. For the past month, I was just looking back and reviewing what has already been done and organizing maybe ongoing projects. I set a meeting with past VP Student Services to see what was going on, what they wanted to see move forward. So I was planning, looking at more initiatives, but then also COVID hit. So then I took into account like what I wanted to see, noticing how, you know, making sure that the services are also accessible online, and they're going to be working hopefully just as good as they would be as in person online. So that's been something I've been trying to wrap my head around a little bit, is like, how do we do this? How are we able to continue to support students through our services, like, you know, working remotely? And so I've been trying to research and also look at different ways for, you know, making sure that there's accessible resources, and maybe coming up with resources that may not be part of like SFSS. For example, I've been looking at mental health resources and compiling a list that I will be posting soon. It's just been hard trying to find, you know, specific culturally appropriate, you know, mental health services for some folks. So for example, instead of, if you don't have access to going to school, or you don't have access to the health and dental plan, then maybe there's something off campus that you may be able to access for mental health, or even just support groups. And then, so yeah, currently we're going through a review of our health and dental plan, and then that will come out later. There'll be some updates. And then also working with Samad on the emergency response group. So right now, one of my platform points that I was really wanting to work with was food bank, for example. The food bank was definitely not serving students the way it should be. And especially now, we need to take into account, you know, students already have precarious lives. We already don't have a lot of sources of stable income or finances. So looking at the way food bank, we can work through that remotely. So we're working on a couple projects right now. I believe they'll be coming up at this Friday's meeting. So we'll be talking more about what we've been working on, the emergency response group. And then so far through COVID, I've heard from various students who are needing additional support for mental health services. I've been with a meeting with Martin, the director from Health and Counseling Services, and maybe to partner with, I've had a couple meetings with him just one-on-one, because I was also looking at culturally sensitive, you know, mental health services for BIPOC community, because I know we had certain initiatives going on in Indigenous Student Center, and then also partnering with FNSA, ISE, and then Health and Counseling Services, so that maybe we can make those more accessible for some folks who may need that, but also just, you know, maybe working with Health and Counseling to make sure that students are being able to access them and know that they're there. Because we were in a meeting with Health and Counseling, and there's like 70% of students know that we have Health and Counseling Services, but then there was something really small, like only 20% actually utilize the services. So that's like Health and Counseling at School and by SSP. So to me, especially going through COVID, a lot of people are dealing with isolation and a lot of various issues. So, you know, putting more emphasis on that and trying to find different ways to work through that, especially remotely, has just been kind of racking my brain. I'm doing my best and trying to figure it out. I hope that I'll have some more answers for you soon. I just want to ensure that our services are working for students, especially through this pandemic. I've been trying to find also better ways to engage with students so that like I'm also more open and accessible working remotely. So I'm trying to be more on social media. People can access me like through email or DM, like anything if they need. I've been responding to a lot of students' emails, just questions and things like that. I've also been creating a resource guide for the board and also SFSS staff for more cultural content and, you know, working with a lot of decolonization information and things like that. So if the council is also interested in that, I can forward that along once it's finished. I'm the chair of the nominating committee. So as you know, we just uploaded our applications. I've just been communicating with the different chairs of the committee. Of course, due to COVID, everything is pushed back. So at our next meeting, we'll be appointing at-large members and also opening applications for first-year engagement committee, BIPOC committee, and then Surrey committee. And so what I've done now, I was able to draft the terms of reference for the Black, Indigenous People of Color Committee. I'm hoping that a lot of really great advocacy work for racialized students on campus will go through this committee. Me and Belkis are going to be co-chairs of this committee and we'll be working on a lot of initiatives. So please feel free to reach out if you're interested in this committee once the application comes out. And just, that's pretty much it.
We're running out of time here.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. We'll move now on to VP Student Life.
Hello, I'm Jennifer. I will keep this short and sweet, just like me. You guys are probably tired of hearing my voice after that report. I am too, because I actually recorded myself going over my notes for my midterm, and I went for a walk while listening to my own voice this morning. So that's a handy exam tip for you guys. Anyway, so in my capacity as a board member, I've been on a lot of committees. I won't name them all here because you will hear about committees later on. I also chair 2 committees, the events committee and the accessibility committee. Basically, the VP Student Life is just the liaison between student groups on campus and the SFSS and council as well. So that's what I do. I try to be very accessible and open for any questions to support student groups the best that I can. I'm in like so many Discord servers, sorry if I miss some notifications. So in the past few months is SFSS board member, and previously I was also a student senator. I've been doing some student advocacy. I sent a lot of angry emails to SFU. My term on SFU Senate ended, so now that's what Gabe, the VP University Relations, and also the SFSS president is doing. So for events, I have a bunch of cool ideas for events that I can talk more about when I go over the events committee, but we have some financial literacy workshops coming up next Monday and next Thursday. So on July 9th, I think. So we have that to look forward to if you want to learn more about budgeting or TFSAs. Lastly, if you want to stay updated with my projects, feel free to like my Facebook page, SFSS VP Student Life, Jennifer Joe, and I post all my reports and updates on there.
Thank you, Jennifer. We're now going to move on to, thank you all for attending our meeting today, by the way, and speaking on some of your initiatives. I found your reports to be informative, and in the interest of time, we will not be having a question period right now. We're going to move on to item 8, presentations, starting with the council committee's overview. Let me put on my presentation here. All right, can everyone see my screen? Can someone just verbally tell me you can see my screen there?
I can see
Yes,
it.
you can't see it.
All right, thank you. All right, so basically we're going to do just a quick overview right now. You guys should have reviewed ahead of time the documents, but basically we're just going to reiterate everything again. So here's our overview of the council committees. According to SFSS Bylaw 8, council is allowed to establish and dissolve committees to support its governance responsibilities. As noted in the council committee policies, committees are deemed to be ad hoc and use only in necessary project-based circumstances. The overall goal for council committees this year are basically want to enhance the role of council committees as efficient, proactive, engaging government structures within the SFSS council and the entirety overall. Why exactly are council committees important? So council committees generate discussion through agenda setting. The more work we put in, the more work there's to talk about. I mean, the more there is to talk about. Council committees analyze policy alternatives within decision-making structures. So it's our responsibility to advise the SFSS board of directors with new ideas to support students. And finally, council committees necessitate the identity of the SFSS council. So having active committees within the council validates the existence of our role within the SFSS, basically solidifying our role as an oversight and advisory body to the board of directors. So these are over our existing council committees. We have the Council Governance Committee, which will focus on SFSS Council's policies and focus on supporting the council and its operations. We also have the Oversight Committee, which focuses on oversight of the Board of Directors, as well as the Public Outreach Committee, which focuses on proposals for public outreach to members of the society. I'm going to go over this slide, and then I'm going to let Helen take over, our vice chair, for the rest of the presentation. So the Council Governance Committee, basically the main goal of this committee is to make a report on development of recommendations to the council aimed at strengthening its governance processes and capacity. So some of the responsibilities include developing the council's policies, so the roles and responsibilities of the council, outlining the duties and responsibilities of councilors, developing council and committee training, and then developing policies regarding, say, censure and recommended removal procedures. We'll also be working to develop motions to be brought to the council, creating and recommending to the council a budget, and delivering a semesterly report to the board consisting of policy recommendations, council progress, and current council initiatives. The membership of this committee will consist of myself, chair of council, the vice chair of the council, and another 3 to 4 councilors. Some goals that we have for this committee, prominent ones for this year, are basically outlining the duties and responsibilities of the chair, vice chair, council liaison, and councilors in the council policies, making recommendations to the board regarding the SFSS bylaw reform, and creating a training process for new chairs, councilors, and committee members. Helen, I'm going to let you take over for the rest of this presentation. Just let me know when you want me to change the slide.
Thank you, Zaid. Zaid, if you can just confirm with me that my mic is working and I'm loud and clear.
Yep.
Perfect. All right, so our final 2 main existing committees within the SFSS Council. So the SFSS Council Oversight Committee. The purpose of this committee is to oversee the affairs and conduct of the Board of Directors and to make and report on the development of recommendations to the Council regarding accountability, our favorite word, accountability of the board. Some of our responsibilities. Number 1, investigating any potential misconduct or inconsistencies of the board of directors. So this also includes requesting to review documentation for any investigation the council oversight committee may wish to conduct, requesting the board of directors and or board committees to appear before the council oversight committee for questioning. So this is our way of trying to create more transparency between the workings of the board and ourselves as council. We'll also be reviewing documentation of the society, including but not limited to the board of directors and board committee meeting minutes, work, event, financial reports, policies of the society, and we will also be providing recommendations to the council regarding accountability of the board of directors. Now, our membership for this committee. Number 1, we will have Zaid as chair of council being an ex officio member. And ex officio means an obligation or by virtue of Zaid's role as the chair to be there and be present within this committee. We will also have a chair of the Oversight Committee, which is elected and appointed by council. So any one of us here, if you feel like you are wanting to chair a committee, either public outreach or the Oversight Committee, be aware that you may be able to be elected by our council members as the chair for this committee. And we will also have elected and appointed members of 4 to 6 additional councilors to be elected and appointed into this committee. Now, our prominent committee goals for 2020 and 2021 is to have a frequent presence at the SFSS Board of Directors meetings to solidify council's role on keeping the board accountable. So the more our presence is there, the more we show our face, the more we show our commitment to being involved with the SFSS and what the board is doing, the more we can solidify our identity within our society. Next slide, please, Zaid. Thank you. Now, our last and final committee, the Council Public Outreach Committee. The purpose of this committee is to make and report on the development of recommendations to council aimed at public outreach. So basically like social media, basically getting the word out, it's a committee that wants to get our face and our identity more into the student body. So some of the responsibilities will be providing formal recommendations to council that call for public outreach and engagement members of the society, such as advocating on matters of general interest to members of the society, issues of importance to members in different faculties, departments, or schools within the university, and evaluating public awareness of issues and how to improve awareness of them. We'll also be promoting the activities, meetings, and future workings of council, ensuring the accessibility of information is being communicated to the student body, and working with the SFSS communications staff to deliver information through the website, social media, and other means of communication. For membership, once again, Zaid as chair of council will be an ex officio member. We will also have a chair of the Public Outreach Committee, which means, again, if you are interested in chairing, please do take the opportunity to have yourself nominated and elected by our next meeting. And we will also have another 3 to 6 additional councilors being elected and appointed to this committee. Prominent goals for this, sorry, Zaid, thank you. Prominent goals for this committee. We will be advocating for the development of a specified section for council in the SFSS website where all related documents of council can be found. There is no prominent section as of what now on the SFSS website that clearly shows council's presence there. So we're hoping to work more with the communications team to establish some specific page for our own council, which will be directed by the Public Outreach Committee. We will also be creating and maintaining an active Facebook and Instagram page for council to create announcements and just get our face out there and transparency to our student body of our workings. Next slide, please, Zaid. Final points. So let's move on to governance of the committees. All committees must strive for consensus. So although at times we may have conflicting points as we are all human, we must all try our best to work together and strive to move forward. That should be the main key goal within all our committees, is to strive and move forward together. If no consensus is reached, committees will make decisions by simple majority vote. So always default to majority vote if consensus has not been reached. You must also meet quorum within your committees when taking a majority vote. Robert's Rules of Order, of course, will be instilled at all committee meetings. And to relevant policies, it's recommended that all appointed members and councilors being appointed to the committees should be familiarized with the following relevant policies, which can be found at the website indicated here. I will also put it in the chat once I am done this slide. So make sure to take a look at the SFSS Constitution, SFSS bylaws, board policies, council policies, Societies Act of British Columbia, which is the main big one we all have to know, and council committee policies, especially our council committee principles of what moves our committees forward, what inspires our committees, the reason for its existence. So please do take the time to be familiar with them. Again, I'll be posting a link, and I did also post a while ago our committee policies within our Discord channel. So please take a look there to find the PDF for our policies. And that's it on my end. Thank you, Zaid.
Great, thank you, Helen. I'm going to stop presenting. Okay, we're now going to move on to a hopefully short presentation on the board committees by Gabe, I believe.
Yes, I'll try to keep it short. I'm going to share my screen as well. So just, oh, that's not, oh, okay, there we go. Are you guys seeing my PowerPoint?
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. So, you know, as council has its own committees, the board also has its own committees as well. And so, you know, as was discussed, board committees just generally help the board do its duties. And the committees are created by what's called a standing order, and standing orders generally outline the what authority and jurisdiction the committee has, and they act on that delegated authority. Here I act in accordance with the terms of reference. And the board has a large number of committees, and we've listed them here. I'm not going to read them all out, but we're going to go over each individual one in a moment. You know, but some of these committees are also very new. You know, as part of our governance restructuring, we created about 5 or 6 new committees, and the ones highlighted in red here are new, and we will be exploring those very, very soon. And the ones here highlighted in green are committees that actually have dedicated seats on them for council representatives. So each of these highlighted in green actually specifies in terms of reference that up to 1 councillor on the recommendation of council can sit on this committee. And we'll get into what that means in a minute. Well, actually, no. So what's going to happen is that we're going to go over what each committee is, and hopefully we can kind of generate some interest among council for people to motivate to actually fill that council representative seat on each committee. And I think that'll be happening at your next council meeting from what I've discussed with the council chair. So we'll dive right into it. Just as a tip, all the terms of reference and standing orders for committees are all available on the SFSS website at this link here. I'll also put it in the chat once we're done. The new policies that were passed by the board last board meeting haven't been updated yet, but they will be very, very soon. And so each committee chair is actually present at this meeting. So I'll let each committee chair actually speak about what their committee does in a very short, like 1 minute, at the most 2 minutes description. So our VP External actually isn't here today, so I'll give the description. So our External and Community Affairs Committee, which was previously called the Federal, Provincial, and Municipal Lobbying and Advocacy Committee, you can see why we changed it, it was so long, but essentially it deals with advocacy outside of SFSS and the university by creating information campaigns that are directed toward society and membership which regard external and community advocacy. So again, some of the things that our VP External would like to work on through this committee is things like capping international tuition at 2%, working on international MSP fees, things like that. And again, reviewing the progress of business from all levels of government that affect students every day. We'll move on to the next one then, which is the University and Academic Affairs Committee, which is actually, I chair this committee. And essentially, this is the same as the External and Community Affairs Committee. A long time ago, the two actually used to be the same, but they were split because they were very two different types of advocacy. One focuses on external advocacy and the other focuses on university advocacy. And so at this committee, a lot of things such as like COVID-19 academic advocacy, exam invigilation, pass-fail, reducing tuition, those are really, really discussed and dived into deeply at these committees. And so we plan, you know, create information campaigns regarding university advocacy, and that's actually a typo, it should say university advocacy, but and you know, making sure that we're up to date with the business of the Senate, the Board of Governors, Senate committees, and any other bodies of the university that affect students' academic experiences at the university. The Governance Committee, which I am also chair of, is arguably, in my opinion, and the other board members can fight me on this, but one of the most important committees of the board, because we're tasked with reviewing proposals and basically just being in charge of adopting new policies, amending new policies, or removing policies. And the governance committee has a lot of moving pieces to it. And it should be one of the most active committees of the board. We meet weekly, and we're constantly reviewing our policies, our bylaws, our constitution, and other governing documents of the SFSS in order to make sure that they're continuously working for us, for bodies like council, student unions, and for our membership as a whole. And our next one is the Finance and Administrative Services Committee, which is chaired by our VP Finance, Corbett, and I'll pass it over to him.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so FASC, we focus on financial oversight, reviewing financial policies, procedures, and even developing and recommending other ones. Projects we'll be working on this year are, we want to look at large-scale event funding. We want to look into reviewing the student group funding, student club, the student union, and constituency group funding model. We also want to launch a pilot project in participatory budgeting, and a number of other things this year. There's about 6 or 7 different big projects.
Cool, thanks, Corbett. The next one's the Accessibility Advisory Committee, chaired by our VP Student Life, Jennifer.
Yeah, so this committee used to be called the Accessibility Fund Advisory Committee because it was in charge of the Accessibility Fund, which students can request if they have access needs, for example, like ASL interpretation, and basically they would request funds from this fund and we would give them money to get ASL interpretation for an event. We changed it to be Accessibility Advisory Committee because it's basically advising accessibility, whether it's for the fund or whether it's just accessibility for meetings and other things. Throughout the year, I'm hoping to work on the appendices of the accessibility standard policy, which will outline like how to make events and meetings more accessible. I'm also hoping to work on starting an accessibility scholarship or bursary or some sort of award. So feel free to apply for this committee if you're interested in making SFU more accessible.
Thanks, Jennifer. And we also have our Surrey Campus Committee, which is chaired by our Faculty of Business representative, Maytab. He was unable to attend this council meeting today because of his work, but I think our Asib will be able to fill in for him.
Yeah, so with the Surrey Campus Committee, the purpose of it is essentially to connect the board and board activities with the Surrey campus. A number of our undergraduate programs are based partially or entirely out of the Surrey campus, and I know that the SFSS offices and most of our activities, I apologize for the noise, they are based out of the Burnaby campus. So there are a number of board members on that, as well as students at large, so that students who actually do take courses at that campus can engage. They have to at least take one of their courses at the Surrey campus to actually be a member. And a lot of things we do include hosting events and then advocacy that is specifically related to the Surrey campus community.
Thanks, awesome. We also have our Vancouver Campus Committee, which is chaired by our FCAT representative, Heather, but he's also unable to join the meeting today, but essentially it's the equivalent of the Surrey Campus Committee for the Vancouver campus. We also have our Events Committee, chaired by our VP Student Life.
Yeah, so this committee is basically exactly what it sounds like, hosting events. Applications are open right now. I tried to make the application form pretty short. I'm going to link a document of event ideas it's commentable, so feel free to leave any comments. We basically discussed these ideas at our last committee meeting, so if you're interested in taking on some of these events, feel free to apply for the committee. Or even steal some of these ideas for your own student unions.
Thanks, Jennifer. We also have our First Year Engagement Committee, which is a new one, and I'm very excited about it, which is chaired by our FAST representative, Sude Gruvendik. She is unable to join us today. However, I also sit on this committee, and I was one of the ones who really pushed for the establishment of this committee. And it's new because it's there to coordinate activities, advocacy, and events for first-year students, because you know, first years tend to have this extreme energy about them and ambition to get involved. And if we can kind of harness that and get first year students involved at a very young age, hopefully we can take that and it can last for many years as they continue their career at SFU and build a long-lasting sense of community at SFU. The Member Service Advisory Committee does not have a chair yet, but one will be appointed at our board meeting on Friday. I'll pass this over to our VP Finance, Corbett, to do a summary.
Yeah, so it's a new committee. As you know, the SFS has a number of services. We have grants, event support, workshops, food bank, a whole bunch of different things. And honestly, we need feedback on this. How are they working? Is there better ways to do it? All that kind of stuff. And so we formed a committee to collect students and to give us feedback on how these services are working.
Thanks, Corbett. And we have our BIPOC committee, which is co-chaired by our VP Student Services, Matt, and our at-large representative, Balkis.
Hi, so I'll just give a quick intro to this meeting. Is everyone able to hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. This newly established committee, the BIPOC committee, where myself and Balkis intend to co-chair this year. BIPOC is a commonly used acronym that makes the distinction of racialized folks who disproportionately face more barriers than other groups due to systemic oppression, colonization, racism, capitalism, and dispossession. The purpose of this committee is to ensure and prioritize the voices of Black, Indigenous, people of color within the community and SFU community within our society. We wanted to ensure that the lived experience of racialized folks is always considered, recognized, and acknowledged. Historically, BIPOC folks face more barriers due to the constructs and policies that have been established without BIPOC folks in mind. Academia and the university settings are not exempt from the mistreatment and misappropriation of BIPOC voices. I'll pass the rest on to Balkis.
Hi, everyone. My name is Balkis. I'm the at-large board of director. So the board, as a board committee, this committee will provide the board with formal recommendations and reports, including but not limited to, some of them are already on the screen right here, but organizing engagement initiatives or supporting ones that are already being led by BIPOC groups on campus, and generally guiding SFSS's advocacy to ensure that accountability on the university's EDI, or equity, diversity, inclusion efforts, or reconciliation efforts, and that SFU is committed to action. Generally, just trying to build like an anti-racist approach, fostering the an anti-racist environment through community events, cultural events, advocacy, and campaigns. Important things to note about this committee, along with the designated council seat, that we have 2 designated voting seats on the Committee for Racialized Constituency Groups, one for SOCA, Students of Caribbean African Ancestry, and one for the First Nations Student Association. For governance, we strive for consensus, otherwise simple majority vote, but also we take into consideration and respect Indigenous forms of governance and other aspects of, and ways of knowing. So thank you for listening to my summary of BIPOC committee. I hope you encourage everyone to join and participate.
Thank you both. And that concludes the, so in terms of next steps, all the committees that we just discussed have 1 seat available specifically for council representatives. So in terms of next steps, at your next meeting, the council chair will be bringing forward motions that will basically say something along the lines like, be it resolved to recommend to the board, be it resolved to recommend to the board of directors to appoint X as chair of, not as chair, as members of insert committee here. And then once those recommendations make it from council to the board will appoint those individuals accordingly. And so that's all for me.
Thank you, Gabe. That was really informative. I hope that people do have interest in joining these committees. It's really important for us to be a part of these committees, right? And to be able to kind of see the work that's being done by the board. Finally, we are going to have an overview of the council liaison position, followed by elections. Let me just share my slide. All right, can everyone see it?
No, Zaid, I don't think. Oh, it's working. Never mind.
All right, there we go. So essentially, I'm just gonna
Wonderful.
give a quick overview of the role for a council liaison. So essentially, the council liaison is the eyes and ears of the council regarding board happenings at the board meetings. It's a council counterpart to the board liaison. Listing the duties of the council liaison are as follows: attends all board and council and board meetings, delivers a brief oral report at council meetings summarizing what occurred at the board meeting, and delivers a brief oral report at board meetings summarizing what occurred at the council meeting. The alternate council liaison fulfills the duties of the council liaison if they're unable to do so, e.g. attending meetings, delivering oral reports, etc. Stop sharing now, and we are going to move on to our next item. Yeah, we're finally on to new business. Item 9.1, council liaison elections. Moment. So the motion reads as follows: be it resolved to appoint X as council liaison to the board of directors for the 2020-2021 term. Be it resolved to appoint Y as the alternate council liaison to the board of directors for the 2020-2021 term. Be it further resolved that the alternative council liaison be required to uphold the duties of the council liaison in the absence or at the discretion of the council liaison. That is a mouthful. Do we have any movers? If you'd like to move this motion, please unmute your mic and state your...
Software Systems moves this motion.
All right, thank you. Does anyone second?
Yes, seconds.
PSSU seconds. We are now on to discussion. I am now opening the floor for nominations for council liaison. Please unmute and nominate yourself or someone else if interested. This is the first call for nominations. This is the second call for nominations.
Kayla from Sociology nominates myself.
All right, thank you, Kayla. This is the third and final call for nominations for the council liaison position. Please speak now. All right. Since we only have one candidate, we will be able to skip motivations for the position. We'll now move to vote.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was muted. I tried to nominate myself. Is there still time?
Yeah, you can nominate yourself.
Ryan, Computing Science. I'd like to nominate myself.
All right, Ryan. All right, candidates will now be given 30 seconds to motivate for the position, starting in the order of nomination. I will notify you when you have 10 seconds left. Kayla?
I'm Kayla. I'm running for the council liaison position. As a student, I always find it's important to be able to know about board. So I would like to run for the position and to provide updates to the council and to attend meetings.
All right, thank you, Kayla. Ryan?
Hi, my name is Ryan. I'm representing Computing Science. I was I believe, the alternate council liaison last term, filling in for Zaina Khan, who could not make, I think, any of the meetings due to the lockdown. And frankly, I thought the position was yearly. I believe I have a perfect attendance record for council and board meetings. I'd like to keep that up. I was well acquainted with the previous board, and I'd like to get the chance to know the current board, see if there's anything new on the table. Thank you for considering me.
All right, thank you, Ryan. We will now move to vote. All those in favor of Kayla being elected as council liaison, please unmute your mic now and leave it unmuted. All right, thank you. Please mute your mics. All right, all those in favor of Ryan being elected as council liaison, please unmute your mic now and leave it unmuted. All right, thank you. Please mute your mic. Please mute your mics, everyone. Quince? Thank you. Congratulations, Ryan. You've been elected as council liaison. Now on to elections for the alternate council liaison. This is the first call for nominations. All those interested, please state your name. This is the second call for nominations. This is the third and final call for nominations.
May we nominate others?
Yes, you may nominate other people.
I would like to nominate Kayla for the position of alternative council liaison, if she accepts.
Kayla, do you accept this nomination?
I will accept.
Do you accept this nomination for alternate council liaison?
I accept the nomination.
All right. If seeing there are no further nominations, we'll now move to vote. All those in favor of Kayla being voted in as alternate council liaison, please unmute your mic now and leave it unmuted. All right, thank you. Everyone, please mute your mic. Seeing there's a majority, congratulations, Kayla. You've been elected alternate council liaison. I would now like to move to amend the main motion, striking X and Y and replacing them with Ryan and Kayla respectively. Does anyone second?
World Literature seconds.
World Literature. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we are now going to vote on the amendment. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone. Seeing no objections, this amendment passes. The main motion now reads, be it resolved to appoint Ryan as council liaison to the board of directors for the 2020-2021 term. Be it resolved to appoint Kayla as the alternate council liaison to the board of directors for the 2020-2021 term. Be it further resolved that the alternative council liaison be required to uphold the duties of the council liaison in the absence or at the discretion of the council liaison. Is there any further discussion? Helen, your mic is unmuted.
Oh, sorry. No. All good. Sorry.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, we will now move to vote on the main motion. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone. Seeing no objections, the motion carries as amended. Congratulations, Ryan and Kayla. All right. We are now on to the SAAC's motion, whereas the SFU athletics team has the current name of SFU Clan, which may negatively impact Black athletes that play for SFU through the invocation and similarities with the name of the Ku Klux Klan, a white supremacist terrorist organization in North America. Whereas SFU athletes were surveyed and 77% of athletes surveyed were in support of SFU initiating a process to change the name, whereas the SAAC is a constituency group on council representing student athletes on the council and supports the calls of the petition, whereas Maria Haddad and a former student athlete, Othniel Spence, have created and circulated a petition titled "The Clan, Simon Fraser University Needs a New Name," calling on the university to change SFU's team name. Be it resolved, Council supports the calls made by student athletes to rename the SFU athletics teams from SFU Clan and endorses the petition on change.org, "The Clan, SFU, Simon Fraser University Needs a New Name." Be it further resolved that the council chair be directed to write a letter on behalf of the council to Andrew Petter, Dr. Joy Johnson, and Romana Khan Haman, in collaboration with the SAAC council representative and other councillors in support of this motion, and that the chair align the letter with the email template from the petition and wholly support the calls by athletes to rename the name of the team to a more appropriate name. Be it further resolved that as the advisory body to the board of the society, the council calls on the SFSS board of directors to add the call for the athletics team name change to their university-based advocacy efforts on behalf of the society, and to prioritize advocating for a resolution of the current issue prior to the beginning of the fall term. Wow, what a mouthful. Do we have any movers?
Moved by education.
Education, does anyone second?
Seconds.
SAAC seconds. Great, any discussion?
Can I comment on this?
Yes, since you brought this, you obviously would have the floor, right?
Okay. So I guess, having brought the motion, just want to provide council with a little bit of background on the issue. Obviously, there was a few of the whereas statements providing some information, but want to provide more information kind of about the efforts that have been going on relating to the name change. So as it pertains to the overall efforts to change the name, those began back in 2017 by a professor at SFU named, where is it here? Holly Anderson. Back in 2017, she started the petition that was unsuccessful to change the name. And then more recently, last summer, a few student athletes had approached my committee to have the name change, at which point we surveyed the student athletes and received, as was mentioned, 77% of the student athletes who responded were in support of the petition, at which point we brought that to our athletic department and they began conversations with the university to see what can be done about this name. From those conversations, they began a process in which would evaluate whether or not a name change is in the best interest of the university. That process, those conversations would have been probably July of last year. And it was not until January of this year that a formal process was actually done. And that process was slowed as a result of COVID, but has started back up again. There's been a number of revamped discussions as a result of all of the protests that have happened across the world. And so the purpose of this motion is to, one, as a council, kind of support the calls that student athletes are making, but I think other students in general are supporting as well as kind of make it an intentional effort of the council to advocate on students' behalf, as well as the board to advocate on students' behalf on this motion. And I'm happy to answer questions that anyone might have about this or more information that you need.
Thank you, Ryan. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question and or point of clarification.
Yes.
Should council recommend this and this goes forward, what system is in place for actually changing the name? Does this become a referendum? Is this something decided by the Senate, the board? What happens after this goes forward, if it goes forward?
Ryan, would you like to answer this question?
I can try my best. So in an ideal world, I don't think this would be a referendum. I think this is something that can be done through the current governance structure, as with any decision at the university. I don't know precisely what the formal structure that might be. I'm sure other people would, whether that is something that has to go through I'm sure it has to go through the board of governors, but whether the Senate has to vote on it or it's something that comes across the president's desk, of course. So I'm not confident in that, but this is something that can be made with proper consideration by the administration of the university, just as any number of decisions have been in the past couple months in relation to COVID.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Osab?
Thanks, Zaid. And I can give a little bit of an update on what was said to us. So Gabe and I attended a meeting with some university administrators who shared with us that there is apparently an ongoing consultation, and they were very hesitant to actually make a commitment to changing the name. However, they did indicate that that is the direction that they're going in. I think that by council, drafting up this letter, and alongside what the SFSS decides to do, which I'm assuming is going to be very similar, I'm hoping that that will kind of give them the push that they need to actually commit to making the decision now, rather than continuing to stall by saying that more consultation needs to happen, as I think it's been made very clear by students, athletes, and other community members that this is what needs to happen. So in terms of what actually is going to happen, I think that they're intending to just finish up their consultation. And I think the actual changing of the name is simply up to the university administration to get rolling.
Thank you, Asab. Helen?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask Ryan to post up the link for the petition. However, just looking at the chat right now, I see one of our counselors have already put up the petition. So for any counselors who may want to discuss more, or need more information, who want to put an opinion out there, the link for that petition has already been put up by Adrienne. Adrienne, thank you for that.
All right, thank you, Helen. Do we have any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we will now move to vote on this motion. Seeing that this may be a contested vote, we will vote via voice vote. All those in favor, please unmute your microphones now and leave them unmuted. All right, please mute your microphone. Thank you. All those against, please unmute your microphones now and leave them unmuted. All right, thank you. Please mute your microphones. All right, this motion carries. We are now on to our discussion items. Item 10.1, reports from executive directors to the council. So basically, I put forward this motion in the interest of transparency and accountability. I would like to propose the council mandate that executive board directors deliver reports at council meetings at a frequency of once a month, detailing their their progress regarding their various initiatives and portfolios. I understand the concern regarding usage of time, but I believe it's in the council's best interest to be aware and be able to hold accountable the progress of the board. Is there any discussion on this? Any comments?
Question, or should I write to add to the list?
Add yourself to the list.
Okay.
Helen?
Thank you. Yeah, it's something that I've already said during our presentations today, but it is, like what Zaid said, in the best interest of council to have the frequency of board members, board executive directors to come to us and report their workings, what they are doing, and for the sake of transparency. This only gives us more leeway to create to do better work, to have more understanding of what the board is doing. Because once we bridge that understanding between ourselves and the board, we can forward ourselves as council to be a greater role to the board. So for that matter, I would just like to show my support for this motion, and making sure that we do have a transparent relationship to the board of directors.
All right, thank you, Helen. Adrienne?
Yes, so I mentioned it in the Discord channel already, but I was just curious, what would be the purpose then of the council board liaison if they're filling us in on like their reports of what's happening during the meetings, but then we're hearing exactly what's happening from the board as well? I was just curious how that'll work.
So personally, I see the role of the board liaison is to give more general idea of what's happened in past meetings, whereas having personal reports from each of the executive directors would give us more information on what progress they've made personally on initiatives, so things that may not have been brought up in the meeting, other projects that they are working on, say in their committees, because I mean, she may be able to bring information, kind of a general overview, but I feel that when we have each specific executive director come in, they'll be able to give us a bit more insight. I'm just going to check the list. Ryan?
I think, just commenting, I think that having the reports the once a month is reasonable. I wonder if it would be more beneficial to shorten the length of time for the reports, simply in the interest of getting kind of the big picture things that they're working on and kind of weeding out the kind of smaller details that aren't of, of use to council's duties.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, seeing today, we did use quite a bit of time with the reports, so I think we would be open to maybe limiting it to, say, 3 minutes per executive director, which would then total to be around 18 minutes. So roughly 20 minutes to be used on that. I think that's totally reasonable for once a month. Corbett?
Yeah, I was also going to, you pretty much said everything I was going to say, Zaid, but also you can think of one of the values of the council liaison giving reports as well is a different perspective. Because being on the board, you can unintentionally become a bit of a bubble at times, especially when you get really busy. Just having another person to give council their perspective on what the board did in their meetings. The reports themselves also are for, as you said, things that won't necessarily always be discussed at a board meeting, but we can still update you on projects through committees or through working groups or through things that are not as visible. And yes, we can definitely, as we work through this, we can definitely get more quicker and more efficient at reporting things of what you want to hear.
Well said, Corbett. Is there any further discussion? Anything else anyone would like to say on this item? Brian?
I just want to ask, like, was there a written version of this report discussed, or like, did you was that an option, maybe?
The report that was given by the board liaison?
Yeah, like, would a written one be more effective? Not effective, but more time-saving?
Potentially. I mean, I see the issue in that I would say that maybe there are some counselors that aren't going to be reading through these reports. And I mean, personally, I think it's better that we have that kind of engagement where we have them at our meetings and then they say, speak for 3 minutes, just to create that kind of relationship between board and council. Because they do have work reports as well, which are released. I'm not sure how often those are released, but I mean, it is really up to us whether we want them to submit just short written ones or they can just speak at our meetings as well. Is there any further discussion? Twice a month. It's bi-weekly or twice a month? Corbett? Oh, yeah, that's the same.
It's twice a month. That's a thing. I'm going to be working on the wording on that because bi-weekly is not the same thing as twice a month.
Really? Um, okay, is there any further discussion? Anyone else have anything to say? All right, we're going to move on to our next item, 10.2, frequency of council meetings. I wanted to discuss with all of you regarding how often you'd like us to be meeting this term. I'd like to propose we meet either monthly or, I guess, not bi-weekly, twice a month, I would say. I'd like to get your opinions on that. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say regarding this? So seeing no input, I will probably mandate that we'll be meeting twice a month, seeing that we do have quite a bit of stuff to get through. Also seeing no further discussion, we'll move on to our next item, which is 10.3, council outreach. This item was proposed by Quince. If you'd like to lead discussion on the item, you have the floor.
Yes. This was a proposal, should we make these meetings, which are officially public, but which should we actually post the meeting times and right now the meeting links to everyone, to the student body as a whole? Because right now, if you're a student, say someone who wants to run for council rep in the fall, say you're a DSU president or something, you have to go to your council rep for your DSU and get an invite link. Now that's a little bit difficult right now, and it's a little bit complex. On the other hand, a good reason for not doing this is the current method we have of tallying votes would let any random person who just showed up unmute themselves and vote on one of our discussions if we weren't paying a great deal of attention.
Right. So regarding posting the links, I mean, this is something that comes underneath the outreach committee with creating and running a Facebook page for council meetings with meeting links, minutes, and detailing council initiatives. The outreach committee will also work with the board to create a section on the SFSS website dedicated to the council, also including the minutes and maybe how to get involved. I do see your point, though, regarding having guests and seeing if they unmute, we may mistakenly count them. I mean, the other workaround with that would be to go through roll call voting, which does take up more time. I guess that is something we should look at. We may have to move towards roll call voting then when it comes to contested votes. Otherwise, we may need to just note. Yes, Helen?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just want to say, Quince, thank you so much for bringing that up. I think it is a very important matter in terms of like creating the transparency and getting the word out about what council is doing and when our meetings are being held. Something that easily every single one of us as counselors can do. It all starts with our student unions, our working groups, our DSUs. I would say if your student council, being that you councils are here, it means your student union is active. Do try your best to get the word out to your members within your student union. Personally, what I do, and I'm sure a lot of us do already, is I always send out a link to my PSSU members, to my executive team on the PSSU, the agenda of our council meeting minutes, and just to get our general members and our executive team enticed just to be a part of the meeting. Doesn't mean they'll show up, but it just shows that we're trying to extend that hand, that invitation for us to want to bring more people there. And just like what Zaid was saying, with our public outreach committee, having these social media websites, Instagram, Facebook, is a perfect way to start kind of getting our face out there, but also to show, hey guys, here's the link and here's what we're doing at this time. So with that being said, the frequency of trying to get our face out there, I'm sure it'll bring more people in. And in terms of the voting structure, that's something we definitely need to talk about more. So, yeah.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Anything anyone else would like to say? Yes, Quince?
If you want council representatives to be in charge of posting this just to their independent department student unions and the groups that they represent, there's a serious problem that biomedical, physiology, kinesiology, dance, data science, student union, not all of our student unions have representatives. So how do the student unions find this council in the interim periods when they do not have a representative? We need some centralized system that council itself runs, not the independent members to go out and do their own word spreading.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point, Quince. I mean, I see this being solved by having a Facebook page being run with all the links and everything posted there. And then if we can get the SFSS board and their websites to share it as well, so we can extend it to the membership, that'd help. Brian?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the voting mechanism. There might be a workaround around it. I think Zoom has an option for like webinars. So it's so people so our guests would be just looking at like us talking, and they wouldn't be able to essentially like unmute mics or like do any other communications.
Okay, that's a great point. We should probably look into that then. Maybe look at some different voting mechanisms, and then we'll bring that up at the next meeting. Gabe?
Yeah, so thanks, Quince, for the question. I think a few things to note. As part of some new policies were passed by the board, and actually a part of that says that council will get its own dedicated page on the SFSS website. So that is currently under works, and I think that we've striked a working group and with our communications coordinator, and that should be coming soon. And I will communicate that with council when that happens. In terms of posting links, I think that's also something that the board is looking at too, because we want students to come to our board meetings and our committee meetings as well. So we're brainstorming ways to make that accessible to students, but also make it secure so that, you know, maybe students who aren't actually SFSS members are coming in, or, you know, making sure that voting is secure. As well, I'll just note too that the reason we use Google Hangouts, I think, and that council uses Google Hangouts, is because it's just the standardized program that our organization uses through our SFSS Google account and Google Suite subscription, and it's much easier in terms of trying to get recordings to our admin assistant and our staff, so that they can go ahead and what am I trying to say? Reference it for the minutes. So yeah, thanks.
Helen?
Yes. Okay, my mic is on mute. I just want to respond to Quince, and again, for all your insightful comments and all your ideas. I think it's so important that we get this out of the way. I mean, in a perfect world, we would want to have all representatives from all student unions be here at the council meetings. But unfortunately, right now, that's not the case. Maybe we, as like Zaid, myself, all the other council executives, once we get into our committees, maybe we can all start strategizing. How do we reach out to people within, for example, archaeology, art performance, and cinema studies, who on the agenda right now don't have a representative? What are some ways we can do to get a word out to them, and maybe having someone from their team come out here? It really all starts with us. It begins with us and how we together, I sound so political right now, very like rhetorical, but how we all can reach out to everyone. It's what we have right now, and all we can do starting now as a new term, summer semester, is just keep growing. So that's a goal that we can all work towards.
Great, thank you, Helen. Any further discussion? Would anyone else like to comment? All right, in the interest of time, I will postpone the fall UPass item to our next meeting, and just move straight ahead to adjournment. Be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 6:31 p.m. Does anyone move?
Software Systems moves.
Does anyone second?
Just 3 seconds.
It's 3 seconds. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this motion passes. Thank you, guys. You're free. It was a great first meeting. It was great. We got quite a bit of stuff done. Our next meeting will be, tentatively, it'll be on July the 8th, I believe, which is exactly 2 weeks from now. You should expect a call for agenda items either today or tomorrow. And yeah, that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Osab or Gabe, before we go here, the previous 2 board meetings, were the invitations for those sent out?
They should have been.